Good morning, children. This is English for class 8. So, today we are going to do the questions and answers of the lesson How the Camel Got His Hump from the textbook It So Happened. So, children, let's begin. Are you all ready? Okay, let's start. The first question, children, what tasks do you think were assigned to the dog and the ox? The answer, children, the dog was assigned the task of what, children? You remember what was he supposed to get, children? The task of fetching and carrying sticks, while the ox was assigned the task of plowing the field. Yes, children. Okay. So now we move on to the next one. Why did the camel live in the middle of the desert? Answer, the camel lived in the middle of the desert because it did not want to work. It was very lazy. You remember the story, children? Yeah, it ate sticks, thorns and prickles, and when anybody spoke to it, what did it say? It said hump and nothing more. Very lazy animal. What made the dog, the horse and the ox very angry? What made them angry? The man told the dog, the horse and the ox that since the camel cannot work, he would leave it alone and three of them would have to work double time and make up for the work not done by the camel. This made the three of them very angry. Next question, children. How did the jinn know the horse was complaining against the camel? The jinn knew that the horse was complaining against the camel because he was in charge of all deserts and he knew about everything happening to his deserts. Okay, now page number 5. The first question, children. The camel was looking at his own reflection in the pool. What does it suggest to you about the camel? What does it tell you about the camel? Let's have a look at the answer. The camel's looking at his own reflection in the pool shows that he was proud of his appearance, especially his back. He liked admiring himself. The next question, children. The camel said hump repeatedly. You remember the story, children? What did it keep saying hump? How did it affect him? That means what happened to him because of that? When the camel said hump repeatedly, despite the jinn's warning, his back puffed up into a hump. The next question, children. According to the jinn was the use of the hump? This is the answer, children. The jinn assured the camel that his hump would not create a problem for him while working. Since the camel had skipped work for 3 days, he could live on his hump and would be able to work for 3 days without eating. This means that the hump was a kind of food reserve. Next question, children. He has never yet learnt to behave. In the light of this, what is the writer's opinion about the camel? Okay, let's have a look at the answer now. According to the writer, the camel is still a very lazy animal that is unwilling to work. Remember the story, children? It was always unwilling to work. After he got the hump, what happened? You remember the story, children? Did you read it? Okay, so after he got the hump, the jinn asked him to go out of the desert to help the other 3 animals. It seems that the camel still did not behave himself and worked lazily in the desert itself. It is for this reason that he was still unable to complete the pending work of those 3 missed days, and he continued carrying the hump and living in the desert. Okay, discuss the following topic in groups. Now, children, you're not in school, So you cannot form groups. You read the question and you think of the answer and write down. Okay? Can this story be factually true? Give a thought to this. You think, you decide, and then write down the answer. Okay. This question requires you to use your own perspective as well as your analytical skills. You should be able to analyze. The answer to the question would vary from one person to another. Yes, of course. It is suggested that you read the text carefully and try attempting it on your own. So, before answering this question, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, you are supposed to go through the story very thoroughly and then think about the answer and then start writing the answer. Did you get me? Okay. The next question, children, discuss the following topics in groups. Again, you are not in school, so you cannot discuss in groups. You think of the answer and then write down in your notebook. What according to you is the story about? Answer the following. How the world began? Why everyone should do his or her share of work seriously? How animals are important to humans? How the camel got his hump? Okay, now let's have a look at the answers, children. Here's the answer, children. The question requires you to use your own perspective. Again, the same thing is applicable here. You have to think of the answer, think of the points, and then write down, children. Yes. Okay, so you have to first think, children, and then write, okay? Because you are supposed to go through the story and then write the answer. Did you get me, children? Yeah. So, first, what are you supposed to do? Read the story. And remember to read it at least 2 times. I always stress on that. Then the understanding would be what? Better. It will help you to understand the story better, to remember the points better. Next one, children. Discuss the following topic. Again, this is in groups. You cannot do it in groups. So you have to write your own answer. What did you do over the weekend? Were you generally active or idle? That means you didn't do anything that is idle. Please check your bag before starting to discuss or answer the question. This question requires you to use your own perspective. Again, the same thing applies here. You have to think, you have to analyze, you have to decide. Discuss the following again in groups. You are not there in school, so you have to decide. You have to think and write your own answer. There are broadly 2 categories of workers. Those who prefer to do today what they can do tomorrow, and those who prefer to do tomorrow what they can do today. Where do you belong? To which category? Okay, this question again requires your own perspective, your own analysis, analytical skills. So think and write the answer. What tasks do you think were assigned to the dog and the ox? The dog was assigned the task of fetching and carrying sticks, while the ox was assigned the task of plowing. Why did the camel live in the middle of the desert? It didn't want to do any work. It ate sticks and thorns and prickles. What made the dog, the horse, and the ox very angry? The man told the dog, the horse, and the ox that since the camel cannot work, he would leave it alone, and the 3 of them would have to work double time to make up for the work not done by the camel. This made the 3 very angry. How did the jinn know the horse was complaining against the camel? The jinn knew that the horse was complaining against the camel because he was then in charge of all deserts and knew about everything happening in relation to his deserts. The camel was looking at his own reflection. What does it suggest to you? Yes, it suggests that he was very proud of his appearance, especially his back. He liked admiring himself. He liked praising himself. The camel said hump repeatedly. How did it affect him? When the camel said hump repeatedly, despite the jinn's warning, his back puffed up into a big hump. According to you, what is the use of the hump? The jinn assured the camel that his hump would not create a problem for him while working. Since the camel had skipped work for 3 days, he could live on his hump and would be able to work for 3 days continuously without eating. This means that the hump was a kind of food reserve, a place to reserve food. Okay. He has never yet learned to behave. In the light of this, what is the writer's opinion about the camel? According to the writer, the camel is still a very lazy animal and is unwilling to work after he got the hump. The jinn asked him to go out of the desert to help the other 3 animals. It seems that the camel still did not behave himself and worked lazily in the desert itself. It is for this reason that he was still unable to complete the pending work of those 3 missed days, and he continued carrying the hump and living in the desert. Yes, children. Okay, discuss the following in groups. There is no group. You have to think from your own perspective. Think and write. These are the questions that I'm repeating so that you're able to understand, you're able to think, children. Yes. So please read these questions, think, analyze from your own perspective, and then write the answer. I hope you got me. See. Same questions I'm repeating. Children, have a look at the difficult words and meanings. Idleness means laziness, puffing up, growing bigger and bigger. Lump, a round raised part of an animal's back. Saddle, a seat usually made of leather used on a horse. So that is a saddle. In your school you must have, while riding the horse, you must have had so many times horse ride. You must have, you know what is a saddle. Trot, gait of animals like horse. Yoke, a wooden bar that is tied over the necks of 2 animals, especially cattle, and connected to the vehicle or load that they are pulling. Edge, the outside limit of an area. Cud, partly digested food, cud chewing you have in animals and cows. The story, How the Camel Got His Hump, is a story from Rudyard Kipling's collection called Just So, How the Camel Got His Hump. Summary in English. The poem describes a story about how the camel got his hump. The poet says, so he says that at the beginning of the world, everything was new. The animals had just started to work for human beings. The story is about a camel who lived in the middle of a howling desert. What is a howling desert? Shouting all the time. He ate sticks and thorns and was not interested to work for anyone. Whenever anyone spoke to him, what would he say? Hump. On a Monday morning, the horse went to him, told him to come out and sprint. But the camel, as usual, said hump. Yeah. So, what happened? The horse told this to the man. After some time, a dog came to the camel and asked him to work. But again, the camel said hump. Later on, the ox came to him. As per this habit, he replied hump. The man summoned the horse, the dog, and the ox. He asked them about the camel. All 3 animals told him what happened. Even after hearing them, the man asked them to work a double time in order to compensate for the camel's work. This made all the 3 of them furious and angry. They decided to held a panchayat. So they decided to hold a panchayat. In the panchayat came the jinn of all deserts. During the panchayat, the horse complained about the camel to the jinn. He told him that the camel would not work and say only hump all the time. The jinn promised them that he will set the camel right. The jinn found the camel in the desert where he was looking at his reflection in the water. He asked the camel to work, but as usual, what did the camel say? Hump. As soon as the camel uttered these words, he saw this beautiful back puffing up. This was very strange. The camel was very proud of his beautiful back. But what did happen to him? What happened to him? It became ugly. The jinn explained to the camel that it was his own hump. He is only responsible for this as he did not work. The jinn now asked the camel to work, but he said can't work due to his hump. He told the camel that he did not work for 3 days. What this hump, he can now work for 3 days with this hump without eating or drinking. From that day, the camel has a hump, but still it has not learned to behave. It was new to camels, did not have humps. Okay, the author tells us about the time when man was just beginning to learn the art of domesticating animals. There was a camel that lived in the middle of the desert. He only ate sticks, thorns and prickles, for they are the only things available in the desert. The camel was lazy. Yeah, so Panchayat was done, and this I have already told you. Then finally it got its hump, children. Now let's have a look at the theme of the story. And that's how the camel got his hump. In the story, Rudyard Kipling brings out the theme of what? Laziness effectively. Who's lazy in the story? The camel, very lazy. Why? Does not want to do any work. And you remember that's the reason it got its hump. And it did not like that hump. The main idea here is to make the readers understand the importance of hard work. Laziness will not lead to success at all. So children, don't be lazy at all. Remember that. Children, now let's have a look at the key points, the important points of the story, so that you remember. The world was new. Animals had begun to work for man. The camel refused to work. He lived in the middle of the howling desert. You remember? Howling desert, all the time howling. He said hump to anyone who spoke to him. The horse went to the camel on Monday morning. He asked him what? To trot as he did. Hump, said the camel to the horse. The horse told the man about it. In the same way the dog and the ox came and went away. They too got the same reply. The man called the horse, the dog and the ox. They were asked to work double time in order to make up for the camel's work. The three of them got very angry. They complained to the jinn against the camel. The camel did not work. The jinn, master of all deserts, assured them that he would set the camel right. The jinn found the camel looking at his reflection in the pond water in the desert. The jinn asked him to work, but the camel said hump only. The jinn puffed up to the camel's beautiful back, which turned to be very ugly. It was his own hump, which the camel had brought upon him by not working. Yes, the jinn ordered the camel to work. He refused to work. His hump was a big hurdle to him, The jinn told the camel about the purpose of the hump. The camel would always be able to work for 3 days without eating. He could live on his hump. The jinn asked the camel to behave properly. The camel went away to join the three animals. The camel always has a hump from that day. He has not caught up with his 3 days. He had missed them at the beginning of the world, and he has not yet learned to behave. Okay, children, have a look at this once again. These are the key points. That means it is very, very important. Please note down. Okay, have a look. Key points means what? The important points of the story. So that is very important. Okay, you have to note down everything that I have done. Key points. What is the purpose of key points? The purpose of key points is, the main point, so that you read the key points, you remember what is there in the story, and you will be able to answer the questions also in the examination that is given to you. That is a purpose, So you have to note down and read again and again, so that you remember what is there in the story, what is the story about. And children, always remember, always when you're reading, underline the difficult words, note down their words and meanings. Yes, and always read with proper understanding. Otherwise, you will find things very difficult. You'll not understand the lesson. So remember these points. Note down whatever I have done in this session, all very important. It's a very beautiful story and easy story, right, children? So whatever I have done in this session, what are you supposed to do? Children, my suggestion is first you read the story, the text, okay? Then you go through the questions, answers, key points. After that, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to note down all that we have done in this session. Okay, children? Things will be easy for you. At the time of examination, you will not face any problem. So follow my advice. It'll help you in the examination and otherwise also. And always, you read with understanding. And if it so happens you come across a word, the meaning of which you do not know, it is your duty to take out your dictionary and look up. Okay, children? So remember these points. Thank you. Goodbye.